DDG episode 238. My name is Dave, and I'm joined by Michael.
Dave, it feels weird recording on the Friday. It will also release on a Friday, so that feels even weirder.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I got energy. I was off today, so I'm feeling pretty good. We got a lot of news to cover.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a good episode.
Yeah, schedules just didn't line up too much this week. I mean, obviously, we planned to record on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and then we found out about we knew about the Xbox event. I didn't put it all together. It was Thursday, and then just the schedules didn't align for Thursday night, so Friday here, because the Xbox event was like 45 or 50 minutes long.
I was surprised because it was only four things.
Yeah, so
that was talked about.
But we're going to jump into that in a second. But we're going to just get some stuff out of the way. So we are Digital Days Gaming. We are typically a weekly podcast that releases on Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time, except for this week or other weeks also. But that's always the plan. So you can check our website out at digitaldaysgaming.com. You can watch us live on YouTube, youtube.com/digitaldaysgaming. Or you can watch us on Twitch, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming. Following on YouTube or subscribing on YouTube, is free. Subscribing on Twitch is optional. If you have Amazon Prime, you can link it with your Twitch account and get Prime Gaming. And Prime Gaming allows you to subscribe to a streamer of your choice. Even if you don't use it on us, please, if you have Amazon Prime, link those accounts and use it on a streamer that you support. That's always helpful, and it means that somebody's just not keeping money. Bezos has got enough money as it is. And if you can share our show on any of the other podcast services reviews, somebody left a review or left a comment on Spotify and I can't get to it. So I'll have to try to figure that out and sign into our official Spotify account or something like that. I tried on the email and didn't work.
I don't even know how Spotify works. I set that up 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I just know it's there.
I got an email about it and I was like, hey, okay, let me see what this person said, because feedback is always welcome. Questions are always welcome. You can post it in the Discord, which is linked in the show notes. You can post them in the Facebook group, which is linked in the show notes. You can follow us on social media, which is linked in the show notes. Might be a new one eventually. We're still figuring it out because we're not sure what Twitter or X is doing right now. But other than that, everything is at digitaldaysgaming.com. So check that out. And you can support us through multiple different ways. Some are free, some are paid, but it's all on the website. So we're going to jump into the news.
Yeah, so last week we talked about the Switch 2 might be announced, and we just had leaks to go off of. And no announcement was made until Thursday morning when the trailer was just dropped, so no usual Nintendo thing of like, hey, we're going to drop some important news tomorrow. It was just like, here's a 2 minute and 22-second teaser trailer for the Switch 2. It did show that there's going to be a larger screen, new Joy-Cons. They kind of showed the potential to use the Joy-Cons as a mouse, which some people are excited about. I don't understand the point of that. And then we got a glimpse of a new Mario Kart game and a confirmation that it is backwards compatible and most Switch games will work. And they will reveal on their website like a full list of like incompatible games in the future. The main thing you could take away from this is they are not going to announce anything else until April, which means that this was probably definitely just kind of put together because they're like, fuck, all these leaks are destroying our plans, and here you go.
This was like, I think, a 2 minute trailer, you said?
2 minutes and 22 seconds.
Yeah,
kind of cute.
Yeah, this is probably what they were going to like release on like March 30th or April 1st of saying, hey, come see us on April 2nd, and they just kind of released this trailer now, which is why it looks so kind of just, in my opinion, just bland and basic. The other thing that this tells me, and I'm trying not to really be a Debbie Downer, is this is essentially Switch Plus or Switch Pro. Like if there was going to be something like massively innovative, which nobody was expecting. I'm not saying that we were expecting it, but it just kind of confirms that this is. I guess there were some rumors that maybe this was going to upscale in dock mode. I don't see the potential to do that, but I don't see the hardware.
It's still possible.
Yeah. I just think that if the rumors are led to believe to be true, and they're going to drop this kind of like the same month that they announce it officially, like that's kind of interesting, and that also leads me to believe that it's not going to be something that necessarily is a instantaneous, everybody has to go out and get. People like you, people like me, like, yeah, new hardware, new tech, more powerful, same game's going to run a little bit better, run a little cooler. Yeah, like that's fine, but it's not going to be like this 911, like everybody and their mother has to get this Switch by Memorial Day.
Yeah, so the rumor is saying, because there were people saying like, oh, it's probably going to drop the same month because it doesn't look that big of a thing. They are doing a full 2-month tour of the Switch 2, so I would imagine it will release after that, which is why they only have like 2 months worth of dates for this tour to like show off the new hardware. But yeah, it definitely seems like the Pro situation. A lot of the innovation with heavy quotes, seems to be in the Joy-Cons in terms of like, hey, it's magnetic now. Hey, there might be an optical mouse ability in it. There's a new mystery button, which no one knows what that's for.
I think that's like an old school like touchpad mouse. You know, like the little nub thumb on the laptops.
Well, so they showed in the trailer, going sideways, and then it looks like it has a little tray you put it in so it can glide properly.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that. So.
Yeah, and there's a side view of the Joy-Con, and some of the leaks pointed to like, it looks like an optical, like that little laser for the mouse. And then there's also a lot of rumors and reports saying that it's going to be Hall effect joysticks, which would be huge for Joy-Cons because they're notorious for drift, and Hall effect would eliminate any chance of the controller drifting, which would be huge if they did that, because then it would put pressure on the next generation for maybe PlayStation and Xbox to also look into that, but they make a ton of money off of people having to buy new controllers.
Yep. Nintendo does too.
Yeah, they do, but they also seem like the type of company that would, in good faith, do that for their users. Of just like, let's just get rid of Joy-Con because they don't like any negative press or criticisms of their products. But yeah, a lot of people were freaking out about the backwards compatibility of like, why isn't it a full list? It's like, it's likely going to be the anything that involved the old joysticks or Joy-Cons plugging into like some random accessory. So people pointed to Labo, the cardboard thing, and like Ring Fit Adventure, which fit into that little ring. And there's also a chance that it's not going to be compatible with like maybe Amiibos or something like that, so it won't have.
Yeah, there's also a lot of like funky, like I've been getting some advertisements for like those funky third-party cartridges now that like you can play like 14 or 15 different Switch games on, like kind of a jailbreak cartridge that like obviously it shows it like being plugged into a Switch and has like a little dial on top of it, almost like a Game Genie thing. And I'm sure that like something like that will stop. Like that's where
they'll buy some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a year.
Before, yeah. But it did take a while for the Switch to get hit with that.
Yeah.
It's only been the last like two years, maybe 3 years, that has become like cracked open like that. So yeah, this was kind of underwhelming. There's apparently going to be a Switch 1 Nintendo Direct in February, which is just kind of crazy. And then we're going to get the full Switch 2 Direct in April.
Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I don't think it's too crazy to see a Switch 1 thing. They've got some questions they have to answer, and typically like their cadence has always showed like, yeah, it'll be on Switch 1 and it'll be better on Switch 2. Like it'll be on GameCube and it'll be on the Wii.
It just with the reveal in April, I just imagine it's just them tying up loose ends, which would be maybe the answer for Metroid of like, hey, this is actually still coming. But I don't see too much happening in that February Direct outside of like obligations they made with partners.
And let's be real, this is a gigantic user base that they just can't walk away from. Like the biggest. Like we were talking a long time about why games were still coming to PS4, and it was the install base. This is, I believe, it's bigger than PS4.
Yeah, no, so it's I believe just past the PS2 for number one console of all time.
So we're really talking about the largest or the most recent largest install base. Like they can't just walk away from this entirely. Like that's not going to happen.
And I think there was like there was a story going around saying like they had sold like 1 billion pieces of software on the Switch, and then it basically accounted for, I think, each Switch user averaged like 7 games, which is a crazy rate.
With like Mario Kart having some like absurd attach rate.
Yeah. So it definitely is one of those things where like they do want to support like the old hardware, and people are still going to buy those games for probably years to come. Especially like, I don't know, last time, Dave, you were at like a Target, Walmart, or Best Buy.
Yeah.
It's typically, from my experience, at least in Chicago, is there's no PS4 games, or there's barely any PS4 games in stock. There's no Xbox games in stock, but they keep the Switch section filled with
Switch has got its own like 4-foot section, like that's there, like Xbox and stuff like that.
And it's usually always filled.
Yeah, and the Xbox display and the PlayStation display, they might get 8 feet or 10 feet dedicated to them, but a lot of it is graphic branding, cards like plus plus Game Pass, and then accessories like headphones and controllers. And I've seen more like Astro stuff and like Astro Gaming, not Astro Bot, or PDP stuff. Like and then to your point, it's like a sliver or like a row or two of maybe the most recent stuff. Like I think I see like Dragon Age and Astrobot and just like you see like in college football, Madden, like the core things of like the basic gamer to your, like you've been mentioning, that walks in and buys Call of Duty and Madden and walks out.
They buy one game a year.
Yeah.
That's it.
So that's what they're for, because anybody else that's involved, like that's entrenched in gaming as a hobby or even as a semi hardcore video game player, typically I feel like in 2025 is going mostly digital. Like we're seeing that trend in stats, right? Like there's like the digital versions of the games are significantly higher, just because realistically the trade value for physical media is low, and people
except for Switch stuff.
Right.
Switch stuff still gets a higher price.
Yep, and it also doesn't go on sale. So like the ratio of I'm going to go turn this $60 Switch game in, you're going to get $35-$40, but you're going to buy another $60 Switch game. So like it's not, versus you take a PS5 game in, and like it's $70, you're probably going to get 20, 25.
Yeah, and even if you just look at like the resale value of games, like for like limited run and super rare games, when I like look at my collection of stuff, like I could buy the same game on PS4 and buy it on Switch, or PS5 and buy it on Switch, and the Switch one sometimes is like double to triple the value, just because there is like a hardcore collectors for Nintendo versions of games, even if they are the inferior versions of games. Yeah. Like my copy of Inscription on the Switch that's sealed is going for $130. Mm-hmm. I bought that for $30. Mm-hmm. The same game that I also bought on PS5, Inscription, and I still have sealed, is going for like $70.
So retail.
Yeah. Or for, because it was a limited print. Yeah. So like that's what the market value is for it. And they're the same game, and it runs like shit on the Switch. But collectors just want Switch like versions of games. And it's just one of those things where like Nintendo knows that, and they will be the last ones to leave. Physical media.
I'm not saying anybody needs to leave it. It's just kind of one of those things where you're just seeing the direction of it, whether it's in general, like this is where like Josh is gonna like freak out on me or something like that. I'm gonna get a text message in like 3 weeks when he listens to this. It's just like it seems like the majority, not everybody, please don't come at me, the majority don't care. Like, I have all
on the other platforms.
I don't even know, like as an example, where like most of my physical movie collections are, because they're all on whatever my Fandango thing is, or whatever Vizio, or whatever the hell that thing is now. Like they're just there, and I can be like, oh, I just want to watch a movie, or it's like, oh, it's on Netflix, or like the other day, like it's just happening so fast. Like Sonic 3 is on, you can rent it streaming now. Like you can't, it's not on a service, but you can pay like $10 or whatever to rent it, which is still cheaper than going to the movies. Like if I take me and Owen and Angela to the movies, like we're looking at $40-$50 easily.
Yeah.
So,
and then you probably have to get food before the movies, just so you're not eating too many snacks at the movies. So you're probably going out for food.
Well, my 9-year-old is a weird boy, and he doesn't like popcorn at all, so that helps. So
I you know what? I'm also kind of the same way. It's just kind of.
But you'll eat it though, right? Like if you had to eat it,
if it's there,
he won't even do it. He's like, no chance. He's like, it gives me a headache, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah, it could be the saltiness.
Yeah.
But we're just talking about physical media, not to go on a Josh tangent. But it's one of those scenes where like I've been having the opposite problem, where I've been finding movies that just aren't on streaming services, or not ones I subscribe to. So I've been pushing to buy more physical media for movies now. Also, especially because I have room now. So like I'm building out my movie collection.
I 100% forget that my Xbox Series X has a drive on it. Like I just totally forget.
But I honestly can't remember the last time we put a disc into my Xbox, because I still use PlayStation. But like Sony announced a couple days ago, it's not in the news for you, Dave, but like they're shutting down their Blu-ray plants. Mm-hmm. So they will not be producing Blu-ray discs anymore. They might have a crazy surplus that they're going to be able to burn onto for a long time, but they aren't going to be producing like Blu-ray discs anymore, which, you know, to bring it back to gaming, is very worrisome for the next generation if you do want physical media.
Yeah,
because that means Sony's going to have to outsource to, I think Panasonic might still be making, and Sony already said they're not doing Blu-ray players, let alone Blu-ray discs.
So now, but we know, like, if I had to guess, I guess this, well, I don't know this, but if you took all of like Sony's marquee first-party titles, like Insurgent, right? Is that what it's called? Naughty Dog's new game, Insurgent. Insurrection. I'm sorry.
Holy shit! I already forgot the name of it. I gotta look it up.
But like, if you had to guess, like, how many physical copies of that game do you think that they would sell in a year?
I would probably say it's probably still like 40% of their market.
Okay, so
it's not the majority. I would say 60
like a game
physical,
like this might sell 15 mil, maybe. Naughty Dog's game in a 52-week cycle, 15 mil, 14. 12?
Yeah.
And if a third of that is roughly intergalactic, sorry. So we're talking about 5 million. Now, I don't know this. I don't pay enough attention to this, but like, when I throw this movie name out there, you're going to roll your eyes or whatever. But like the next Fast and the Furious that comes out on disc, is it selling more than 5 or 6 million physical copies?
It's hard to say.
Right.
They haven't really released physical sales data for movies.
So kind of like what I'm getting at though is just like, to your point, is like Sony is all of a sudden now backing out of publishing discs or making Blu-rays, physically pressing them with their machines, manufacturing them themselves. And to your point, if they have a surplus of it, how deep does that surplus go? Is it 50 million? Is it 50 million discs? Is it 100 million discs? Is it 7 million discs? And who gets the priority? Like,
well, the funny thing is, like, a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, Disney announced, like, we're out of the disc pressing business and we're outsourcing to Sony. And Sony was like, perfect, we're the main people that make these discs. But now you're looking at a reality where, like, Disney's not going to then suddenly, like, let's boot up a plant, let's start pressing discs again.
So who's going to be the Blu-ray guy that lives in like a warehouse in North Dakota or something like that? Like,
So like there's still other people that make Blu-ray discs, Blu-rays owned by like a conglomerate of like the different big companies. I think it was like Sony, Panasonic, and like 2 other companies.
This is where you're gonna meet somebody that's like, oh, you're gonna meet a friend of a friend. Oh, what do you do? Like, oh, we have a family business. What? Like, I have a printing press and I print cards for Hallmark for the tri-state area. I'm a millionaire. Excuse me? Like, and they live like in the middle of nowhere. Like, oh, what do you do? I make discs. For who? Everybody that still uses Blu-ray. Like,
it's going to be like weird to see how this goes, especially with the next generation. There's also reports, didn't put this in the news for us, but that the PS6 has already been fully designed. So now it's just a matter of just like building up the resources to like start making them. So you have to wonder, just like, as Sony's like winding down their Blu-ray disc production, like, do they even have plans for there to be a disc drive? And it won't be like a big loss for PlayStation as a brand, just because it's such a household brand. People are okay with it being digital, but it does shows you that, you know, there is going to be a time in the very near future where we might have like 2 console manufacturers of the 3 being like, yeah, we don't produce discs anymore. Unless PlayStation's like, hey, we will still produce shit for ourselves, and also we need something that isn't Blu-ray or UHD because we need significantly higher capacity for how big games are now. And, you know, they have to make a new format, which is possible. And they're a big enough company to do what Nintendo does, where Nintendo's like, we're still going to produce very specialized cartridges and sell them and produce them. So everybody
laughs at Nintendo, and everybody laughed at them for the last 30 years, and they're just like, okay, well, we just make our own cartridges, like, and like that's just what we do, and it's ours. And you wanna make a game on the best selling console platform ever, it's gonna cost you X amount of dollars just to sit at the table.
Yeah, and also if our cartridge isn't big enough, then you're going to have to use our servers to download the rest of the game onto our platform.
It's a gigantic monopoly. Think out there in China. or Japan. Sorry.
Japan. Yeah, but we'll move on from that. That's my physical media rant. But like now, I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to buy movies faster because like
it's
we're not
scary.
gonna get things
I get
produced.
it. I mean, what did what did we find out last year? Like, I mean, we can change after this, but Best Buy's like, nope, we don't want it. Like they're know, like, or I mean, I don't know if Target's even said anything, but Best Buy's like, we don't want the discs.
I went into Target during Christmas, and the 2 Targets I went into, there was no movie section, like at all, like not even like a small end cap like they used to.
It's weird,
and
man.
I saw reports, like people on like some forums on Reddit, were posting pictures that Target just clearanced out like their entire movie section, and the resellers just were pulling boxes and were like, fuck it, because it's an investment now for them.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. We'll move on. This is going to be the PlayStation block, which is the vast majority of what people care about when they listen to this podcast. The first one is Ted Price, founder of Insomniac Games, announces his retirement. So Ted Price is retiring from the video game industry after 30 plus years. The founder, or Ted Price, will be succeeded by Chad Derzerin, Ryan Schneider, and Jen Hun as the studio heads. Ted Price is, as a founder, he's been with Insomniac through Spyro, Ratchet and Clank, all the way up until, recent with Spider-Man. He's been the face of Insomniac Games and just another, like, pillar of, like, PlayStation that is retiring, which is a trend we've been seeing for the last, like, 2-3 years. This probably won't change too much for Insomniac. It is a machine at this point, but it is definitely sad to see someone go. And I was talking to Sarah about this, and we talked about this, I think, not too far ago, but we're kind of in an age range where we're going to see a lot of these guys, just kind of piecing out, Kojima was just talking about it a couple weeks ago of just like, I don't think I can go, to the age that like David Lynch did, who just recently passed away. And, you have Nomura, Sakurai are all saying like that their next game might be their last game. So another person retiring. It's going to get a weird time for us old gamers as we see some of the people that made the stuff we like kind of peace out. But Dave, thoughts on someone leaving?
I mean, I just Googled his birth date. He's
only 51.
Yeah,
right?
but I mean, he's but in terms of like owning a company, which he did, and he does, he's retiring 4 years ahead of schedule. If you ask me, like in terms of like quote unquote like American dream, just to retire by the time you're 55 years old. Do I think that somebody like his bravado is going to stay like retired? Like no, I don't know what this means. I also think. I went back. I was typing it up while you were talking about something else. I think he had a 5-year contingency plan with Sony's acquisition of him, and the 5 years expired in August of this year. So I think he's like, okay. And then, I would be very curious to see, and it's going to kind of tie to the next story of like, what are they necessarily being told to do? And then what are they allowed to do? Because, we're starting to really see that there's some studios that are doing things that you're like, what the hell? Why? And we've heard about like, so now like we got up to a one point in time of like, I think you and I conversated like over a year ago, a year and a half ago, that I think we were up to 13, 14 or 15 quote unquote service games that Sony was either
12.
making.
It was 12.
Yeah, but making or attempting to make. And
some
it
was
of them,
12 in development.
And some of them never even saw the light of day. We were led to believe that there was a live service Spider-Man game of some capacity.
We saw videos of it.
Yeah,
with
the terrible leak that they had. And I think that might have been necessarily that thing that happened at his company might have been like kind of the nail in the coffin for him of like, I don't want to do this right now. And go ahead.
I was going to say to add to it. I don't want to do this right now, but I will, only for it to get canceled anyways. I think can be very disheartening for anyone working on a project of any sort.
Yeah, I agree.
Being forced into it, putting the work into it, just to have someone be like, nah, actually, fuck off.
It's interesting. Like, and I'm trying not to make this a bash Sony thing, but there's some really weird things that they're doing right now. It's okay. Like, do we think so? 10 years ago, let's say, that Sony came to Insomniac and said, "Hey, like you guys have done some awesome work for us. We're in the, you're on the heels of the Sunset Overdrive and this Fuse debacle. But we've got a really cool opportunity for you. What do you think about making a Spider-Man game?" And they're probably like, "Fuck yeah. Like, let's go. Like, I want to do that." Like, back to, like foundationally, like it's different, but it's the same as Ratchet and Clank, like third person behind the camera, traversal. Yeah. In terms of what they want to do. And then, we start hearing other studios are like, I don't want to keep making, whatever they're making. And now the Spider-Man, did phenomenal. Spider-Man Remastered did phenomenal. Miles Morales did phenomenal. Spider-Man 2 does phenomenal. Okay, guys, here's Wolverine. Well, wait a minute. Let's talk about this. Nope, shut up. Here's Wolverine. Make it. Or was it, hey, we have the license for Wolverine, and they had the same response they had 10 years ago to Spider-Man? I don't think so.
I would say, given the opportunity to do Wolverine, they were probably like, fuck yeah, us like to do that. But they probably were also like, but can we still do Ratchet and Clank? And someone's like, no, we gave you one.
Yeah. So like versus what they want to do and what they're told to do, like and some of that, I guess I'm agreeing with you. Maybe some of that can mesh together, but how long do you want to do? Like we talked about for a long time, how long do you want to do third person over the shoulder action traversal games? We'll talk about the leaks because I don't know if it's still happening, but they are working or we're working on an X-Men game. Yeah. So like their next like 10 years were completely planned out of like you're doing 2 more Spider-Man games. You're doing Wolverine probably 1 to 3 times, and you're also going to squeeze X-Men in there. To where if you're at Insomniac, you might be like, I joined because this was a studio that made a bunch of different stuff. Or like you joined because they were doing VR, which is the main reason that Sony bought them. Right, which is the main reason that Sony bought them because they were worried about Meta buying them. And now they're like, hey, yeah, we own you, but like that VR thing, like, no, you're not doing that no more. And they're like, that's what I do.
Well, yeah, I think they were... Insomniac's in a weird spot, too, because I don't know if you were necessarily, like... Because it was a PS3 era. But it was basically, like, the reason they did Fuse and Sunset Overdrive is because Ted Price and Insomniac were pissed about how Resistance went. Yeah. Because they felt Sony kind of abandoned them and put Resistance 2 and 3 out to die.
Concord.
So, yeah, they basically... Resistance 2, they felt like it wasn't fair.
All the free-to-play games that they failed. Like Sony has a track record for it. So.
During that era, especially it was free-to-play, this was single-player stuff, and they tacked multiplayer onto it. But Sony, that was that era where they would just let games go out to die with like no marketing, no love. So Insomniac was like, fuck you guys, we're not going to be partners anymore. We're going to go do our own thing. Signed a deal with EA. Fuse bombed. Yeah. Signed a deal with Xbox. Sunset Overdrive bombed. And then they went to PlayStation and were like, can we do Ratchet and Clank? And PlayStation was like, yeah, fuck it, knock it out. They knock it out. And then they get offered Spider-Man, which at that point, they were beaten down by like 2 failures in a row. Yeah. To where like, if you're telling me like... You had 2 games bomb completely, and then you can add like
Ted Price is standing in a meeting room going like, look guys, I have a bag, like, but in the bag is Spider-Man, but also in the bottom of the bag is all the cash for Make Spider-Man. Like, yeah,
and especially Spider-Man's a fun IP too, so they're probably like, you know what, fuck it, okay, let's do this. They knocked it out, and then at a certain point, Ted Price could just be like, you know what, I've built this company up to a point where I'm not actually needed anymore for the future of this company.
Or what say does he have, though? Like, that's what I'm wondering now, too, of, like, the acquisition. Like, we've heard, like, like, I'm sorry, like, I think Ted Price is, like, this is no diss on him. He's not, from a development standpoint, my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding, he's not Druckmann. Like, he's not
a writer,
not digging on there, either writing or directing or making the calibration. He's a CEO. He's running the business.
Well, business side, but he's also someone that can step in and, like, he at least knows how games function because he used to be a developer, like, actual developing. Okay. So he can at least help be a tastemaker for that studio. And you do need people like that are in charge to be like, yeah, this thing's not going to fucking work. We're not doing it. Yeah. So he at least has enough skill and experience that he can do that. But again, Insomniac is now a machine. Yeah. He doesn't necessarily need to stick around for that, and it probably doesn't fulfill any sort of creativity he might have.
And he got paid.
Having the next 10 years. And he got paid. And the next 10 years are planned out, because they're just going to be a marvelous
So what innovative, cool business decision, development decision does he really get to make? The answer is minimal.
Yeah, so it's a good time to leave. And to your point, he probably did have a clause to,
X amount of years.
Through,
A retention thing.
Yeah.
Which means he got paid again.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially, you're talking about, like, a founder of the studio, so, like, there's probably a lot of money. Just be like, hey, stick around, because, we don't want you to leave suddenly after being acquired because it's just a bad
get fully vested after 5 years. Like, see what you think after 5 years. Okay, I'm done. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Sign
and
here,
at this
please.
point, at this point, like, he would sign off on, like, yeah, we'll do another Ratchet and Clank game. I like this idea. Go for it. But at a certain point, PlayStation's just like, yeah, Spider-Man 3, Wolverine 1, X-Men 1. And then he's not there to sign off on it anymore, other than to be like...
Yeah, but he's been doing this since he was 21.
Yeah.
I know you're like, he's only 51. I agree with you, only 51. But, that's not old anymore. But doing that since, probably working for Insomniac or working on Insomniac, like in terms of like what Insomniac was going to become before he was legally allowed to drink alcohol.
Potentially, depending on how long. Yeah.
So that's a long time.
At one company that again is pretty settled. So like, I'm sure Insomniac's going to be fine. They have 3 veterans taking over Insomniac. If those leaks are accurate, their next 10 years are fully planned out.
Yep.
So like there's going to be some safety there. And again, I keep calling them a machine, but they have turned into the best PlayStation studio.
Yeah. In terms of cadence.
Output.
Yes. Cadence. Yeah, absolutely.
Output and quality.
The amount of games that they put out since Last of Us 2.
So it's one of those scenes where the company's going to be fine despite this change. Talk about the next bit of PlayStation news. One of these companies might not be fine, but the other one, it should be okay, but still frustrating. So PlayStation confirms cancellation of 2 games, one at Bluepoint and one at Bend Studios. First reported by Jason Schreier, but later confirmed by Sony. Bend Studios and Bluepoint have had their live service games canceled. Yes, those 2 studios were making live service games. The latter being a God of War spin-off that was being developed by Bluepoint. Bend's last release was 2019 with Days Gone, while Bluepoint has primarily been a remake company. Their last remake was released in 2020, and that was the Demon's Souls remake. Since then, they did help with God of War Ragnarok, so that is something they have been doing. So their live service game has only been in development since about 2022, 2023. There's also a report, though it's unconfirmed by Sony, that the Horizon MMO that was being worked on with NCSoft has been canceled. So that is 3 live service games canceled, and this is after Jim Ryan greenlit 12 live service games. The new, I forget the new head of PlayStation, that isn't Herman Hulst, basically said we're only doing 6 of those, and 3 of them have just been canceled. So there might be 3 live service games. One of them would be fair games coming now at this point. So a lot of money potentially burnt at PlayStation. But Dave, Bend Studios, Bluepoint, live service games canceled.
So I get potentially Bend doing this. Like, if this is something you're focused on, you don't really know what you want to do with Bend. You canceled Days, or you didn't cancel Days Gone 2, but you didn't greenlight it because of the issues that Days Gone the first one had. This is kind of like, to my point, 15 minutes ago or whatever, like, why are you having Bluepoint do this? You have this plethora of library. Give them Resistance. Give them Uncharted 1 at this point in time. Like, anything, and let them do what you bought them to do.
Legend of Dragoon.
Like
Ape Escape. Something. Shit.
Like, and I'm just going with the games that I recently played. Mm-hmm. Like, give them something that you bought them for. Like, you bought them to make old stuff look awesome and bring old stuff to 2024, 2025, 2026. Let them do it. Stop. Like, we don't even know what the live service game was, and stop making your studios.
Just God of War is what we knew.
That's right. Okay, for Bluepoint. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was Bend. But
I don't know what the fuck Bend is at this point.
But
there's a rumor it was a Days Gone live service game. Just to put that out there, which is crazy to me.
But this is also like kind of like, okay, like what I talked about. And I mean, I hate to, because I was concerned about this from the very beginning when they talked about it with factions. Like, why are you making a single player third person studio make a multiplayer service game? What pedigree, what background, what ability do they have to do this? And the answer is obviously none.
It was hire as many people that work in live service games to this team to where it's just like this making a studio.
Yeah.
Like,
you could argue that like their best PS5 launch title was Demon Souls, which is what Blue Point did.
Yeah.
That
was one of the best fucking remakes.
Absolutely. So to your point, like between you and I, we've listed off 5 or 6 things that are probably a better decision
fucking Bloodborne.
Yeah, like
the one that everyone's dying to be remade. You could have gave it to them. They just did it From Software game.
Right. So it's just like I don't understand. Like I'm so confused and I don't understand. And I'm starting to see, I think, like, and I don't like, it's been a long time, but you can look at this, like, I'm starting to see why based on what Sean Layden has been saying for the last 3 or 4 years in interviews or on Twitter about the gaming industry, of where he sat at board meetings with these, people going, oh, this is what we're going to do. Like these live service games over these next X amount of years. And he's like, no, like
they're not sustainable.
Right. And they're like, no, you don't understand. You need to get with the times. And he's like, it's not going to work. Okay, well, you're out. And then Jim Ryan told him exactly what they wanted to hear. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's sell 25 million copies of God of War, Fortnite, and
free to play games are good. Let's do a premium live service game.
Yeah, and he's sitting there in the board, and he's just a mouthpiece for the board. He's a phenomenal CEO. He did a great job. He greenlit the PS5 and the marketing and all that stuff. Like those things he did from a business standpoint, he was phenomenal at that. But then
didn't know shit about games.
Right, and then the board's like, where are these games? And he's like, oh, bro, it's hard. Like, and then, oh, I released that one, but you guys didn't like it. You made me turn it off and then close the studio. They're like, yeah, because nobody was playing it. He's like, but I did everything you wanted us to do. Yeah, but you suck at it.
Yeah. Or no,
so get out.
It was like, I did what you guys wanted, and they're like, what the fuck do we know?
Yeah.
Where's his business?
So then the response is and I hope this works because I think he's a phenomenal person. The response is, in the middle of this games as a service dilemma that you're in, you go take the dude that made some of the most pinnacle single player games in your generation and say, come fix our live service problem in Herman Holst. Like, yes, Killzone multiplayer was the bread and butter for it, but Horizon's a bigger game. And he spearheaded Horizon, and everybody thought it was nuts.
And then Engine,
yeah, exactly. Like he was the Ted Price of Guerrilla, and he like I almost forgot the name of the studio for a second. And he was passionate, and he was all that stuff. And they're like, you do all this cool stuff, go make Concord work. And he's like, the fuck.
Yeah, so like it's Hiroki Totoki is the current CEO, and he's also Herman Host is like the co-CEO of PlayStation. This is one of those things where I put this in our Discord of like, we don't know the extent of the damage that Jim Ryan and to a lesser extent Herman Holst have caused PlayStation from all of these decisions. And right now, a lot of people are like, I don't know what PlayStation's doing right now, and the answer is Totoki and Herman Host are fixing and cleaning up all of the mistakes.
Because it's only been like 6 months, right? 9 months,
maybe a year. At the most.
I feel like Jim Ryan's retirement party was like last March,
something like that. Yeah, because he announced it ahead of time.
Yeah.
But this is one of those things, and that's also probably why like Shu left a month ago. Of just like, fuck, I don't want to be here for the bloodbath. But it definitely feels that like Jim Ryan left because he had to, because they are now doing the cleanup. And I keep adding Herman Host on both sides because technically Herman Host was part of the Worldwide Studios leads during that time. So he was probably being asked by Jim Ryan of like, can we do this? Yep. And Herman Host, probably was like, I think we can. And it has backfired. And also, no offense to Herman Host, because I met him, I've talked to him, he knows video games. Yeah. But it is one of those things where he was like potentially, with Jim Ryan of like, can we do this multiplier things? And Herman Host is a better single player director than multiplayer, because Killzone multiplayer just never really took off, even though I love it so much. And this is one of those things where like Jim Ryan and him potentially greenlit like these 12 titles, and we're not going to see any of them hit. And that's just fucking crazy to me. So now you have this bloodbath where like we're talking about years of development, probably billions of dollars at this point, that are just being like taken off the books of just like, hey, we wasted all this money, we wasted all this time, probably bled a lot of talent during that time. And somehow PlayStation's still number one, so they at least have that going for them. But like the extent of the damage done by these decisions, we won't know until the PS6.
Yeah.
Like,
he's older than Ted Price.
Who?
Host.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I also wonder at the same time, kind of like circling back a little bit, did Ted Price go, I don't want to be him in 3 years or 5 years?
Well, it also could just be like Insomniac had a live service game canceled.
Yep.
You know, to where, again, it comes down to like, they fucking told me to do this. I did it. And then they threw it away. Yep. You know, and we're probably
hey, we want to, you know, like, hey, you know, Jim Ryan or came to Holst and said, hey, I want to take your baby. I want to take your IP. I want to take Horizon that you built. I want to give it to these guys over there, and I want them to microtransact the shit out of it.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy though is like with Bluepoint is this would have been Bluepoint's biggest game because it would have been like an original game. Bluepoint doesn't have creative directors at their studio because they aren't built for that. They are built for remakes and assisting studios. So the idea that they were just going to do a God of War game and who the fuck knows would have been in charge of it at this point, it's like they set them up for failure at that point. And now I would be concerned if you're Ben's studio, you haven't released anything since 2019, you don't have an IP that's relevant in your portfolio.
And they just literally took a studio very close to you that they recently purchased and crumpled it up and threw it away.
Yeah. I would be scared for Bend. They are a talented studio. Days Gone was a decent game. They have a history of siphon filtering, but you have to go back to the PS1 era to get those games. So who knows if there's anyone still at that studio.
I think since I've been covering games for PlayStation and for DDG, I think Bend has released one thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Uncharted on the Vita.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're Vita and PSP games.
Sorry.
Because they did release a decent amount of PSP games.
Right, since I started covering PlayStation.
Yeah, which was end of PS3 era.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's... I'm worried for Bend, and like Bluepoint will be fine. This might show them, especially because they're cleaning up, that Herman Holst and Todoroki will just be like, Bluepoint, fucking do Bloodborne. We need a fucking win. You can do it. Knock it out of the park. They'll be fine, or they'll give them a smaller project.
You have 6 months. Do it.
Yeah. But like, I'm worried about like, what's Housemarque doing? You know, because Returnal was
and the crazy part is like I've been listening to, I don't know if I talked about it when I went to Indianapolis for the Lions game, and the name Play Nice, Jason Schreier's book about Blizzard. Like, some of those games that Blizzard made, like Hearthstone, was kind of discovered not necessarily on accident, but like 6 or 7 people were doing something, and then people are like, hey, that's really cool. Like they were playing it on their lunch, and then they built it into that. And they, you know, and the same thing with how even how Overwatch came to light. Like it's fascinating, and they're losing some of that creativity. I feel like, and you know, obviously Blizzard lost that creativity. They lost their way, and through Activision and through multiple avenues. And you know, it looked like for a little while there that Naughty Dog might have been losing their way. But then they potentially swung back with the Game Awards trailer for the game I've already forgotten the name of that you just told me.
Intergalactic.
That's yep.
Just think of the Beastie Boys.
Yeah. So it's very, very interesting. Of like, okay, so, and it's I don't know the exact time frame on this, but like, what's Guerrilla doing? Like is it Horizon 3? It has to be at this point.
It has to be at this point. Yeah.
You know, so and to your point, like, what is Ben's plan B and plan C? Like, what's going on? Where's Santa Monica? Like, you know, like.
Well, the crazy thing, especially like Santa Monica has like a Cory Barlog project. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck you're wasting that talent. Yeah. Release that. Give us a trailer. When it comes to Bend, is like, when I say Days Gone was okay, I'm talking about the quality of the game.
Yeah.
But sales wise, it sold over 9 million copies
It's
once
more than
you include
okay.
the PC sales.
Yeah.
Which for PlayStation at the time, that's a great sales number. Like now you're like, oh, PlayStation wants like 15 million. But for a first time IP coming out in 2019 in a year that was stacked against, I think, Spider-Man and The Last of Us Part 2 was due out like a year later.
Yeah.
That's really good. But you didn't greenlight Days Gone 2.
Yeah.
It's way too late to do Days Gone 2 now, so it's not like they can go to Ben and be like, let's see that idea for Days Gone 2. Because all the people that were a part of that have left for the most part.
Who made
So
Astrobot?
it's like Asobi.
Are they owned by Sony? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's basically former Japan studio
Gotcha.
people,
Okay.
I believe.
My point is, like, everybody's like, there's some people are trying to give him credit. Kyle on Twitter, like he's like, oh, like, well, Jim Ryan greenlit Astrobot and he greenlit Ghost 2 and he greenlit Intergalactic, and I'm like, oh yeah, those were a hard decisions. That's like giving the Dodgers GM credit for signing Shohei Ohtani. Like,
Yeah.
or like, oh, Jerry Reinsdorf decided to give Michael Jordan a contract and make him the highest paid player ever. Look how smart of a GM he is. Like, come on. Like, Naughty Dog came to you and said, hey, we're going back to what we're really good at. We're going back to a foundation of Last of Us and Uncharted. Sucker Punch came to them and said, hey, we're going to make a sequel to our most successful game ever. And Astrobot said, or Soki, right? I'm sorry. The studio Asobi came to them and said, hey, you know that really cool thing that everybody liked that we packed in on the PlayStation? We got a full-fledged game of that only cost us X amount of $1 million to produce. Can we release it? Oh yeah, sure. Like,
not only X amount of dollars, but like X amount of time.
Yeah. And then the counterpoint is, if I'm working for Haven now, I'm going into work every day like shaking. Shaking. Because
and it's really hard to produce your best work under those conditions.
You're the last man standing, or the second to last man standing. Whether you like it or don't like it, Marathon's going to be okay. It's going to get what I call like a Bungie bump for like 6 to 9 months at the most.
But not like the Bungie bump.
No, but it's still going to get a bump.
It'll get interest. People will make articles about it.
Yep.
But yeah.
And if they do a good enough job and they hook their players, it'll be, to your point, it'll be okay. Like Destiny is okay. Now maybe not as okay as it was, but it was for a while okay.
Basically, the scale for Marathon is, oh shit, Bungie's back, or Bungie's just doing what they do.
Right.
Now, it's not going to be like, this is horrible.
Is either going to be they never take the bat off their shoulder and swing at the ball, or they park the damn thing out of the ballpark. There's no in between.
Those first 2 weeks for Fair Games are going to be like the most tense weeks for that studio because of what happened at Concord.
Yeah. Like at this point in time, if we don't have an announcement about a beta for Fair Games in the next 3 months, it's not coming this year. And the longer it takes to come out, the more pressure that's going to get on it. And it won't, I don't think it'll be free to play.
I would, if we don't hear about it and it still comes out, I think it's free to play.
Okay.
Like, it got changed to free to play.
Okay.
If we hear about it in 3 months,
I got you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But
if
it
we hear
comes
about
out
it before quote unquote E3 or by E3, it's probably a cost. If we hear about it after E3, it's free to play.
Yes.
June of 2025 is what I'm referring to as E3. I know you know that, but some other people might not. So.
Yeah. I believe that would be the only route it could go. But yeah, this is one of those things where it's just like, I hate that games were canceled. People work hard on this stuff, but it's one of those scenes where I'm glad they're not wasting Blue Point on a God of War live service game.
Where's their cadence? They just came out of December riding high on the Astrobot game of the year and I can't think of the name. I can't say it like 4 or 5 times. The Naughty Dog trailer. God damn it.
Intergalactic.
Yeah, Intergalactic.
Good partnerships with like Wukong or Stellar Blade last year.
Yeah. Like coming right off of that wave and then just coming into January and just be like, bam, bam. Like 3 or 4 or 5 hits like that are hard. And then in the meantime, you're just like they're like you said, like Bungie's like trying to do whatever they can, and people are just laughing at them. And it's like, like give us Marathon news. Stop telling us about Destiny. Where's Cory Barlog's game? What and then it's like, oh, by the way, like the studio that I love Days Gone. Yeah, the people that were doing it, they don't get to do the second one, and we had them working on something else, and now that we don't know what they're doing, huh?
This might be the second or third thing they've had canceled since 2020.
And to your point, if you're the art director for Bend and you're the head of the art department, how much stuff do you have in your portfolio now that's just garbage. Not garbage, but unusable assets.
Yeah, but also in a way of just like, I can't even put them in my website portfolio or LinkedIn thing because it's probably NDA'd to hell. So even if you do leave, you're like, I have art I can't show you.
Yeah, so he's got this like amazing, portfolio folder that's like sealed in a vault.
Yeah. It's baffling. I think this is the right direction for PlayStation,
I agree.
cleaning up these live service games, but it sucks that like they're at this point.
But the aftermath is we never even got to see them.
Yeah, no,
we never got to see a trailer. Yeah, but I mean,
we got to see Concord.
We'll
we got
talk
to see a
about
trailer
it
for
and playing and watching. But like, I mean, like, Marvel Rivals' hook is Marvel. Like, like that's
and it's
why,
so goddamn good.
Yeah,
in terms of just like, hey, we have a hook, and also we learned from the other.
Yeah, and then like, what was Concord's hook? Yeah, like I mean, I that's the problem that sucks. Is it's like, and everybody's like, oh, I want to see new and innovative things. You don't fucking buy it.
Yeah, but even in Concord, it was like, there's nothing new, there's nothing innovative here, and they were just hoping that PlayStation logos at the beginning would be enough.
Somebody's like, oh, it's Destiny PvP in a hero shooter. I'm like, if somebody wants Destiny PvP, they're going to go play Destiny PvP.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
If you want a good hero shooter, you're going to go back to Overwatch. Like, if like in terms of like good as in air quotes of a hero shooter you're comfortable with. And then now it's like, okay, so we took all the stuff that Concord messed up and made it better. We took all the stuff that Overwatch wishes it could have done, and we put really cool characters on it, and we put the Marvel name on it. Cool, we're good.
Yeah, 20 million plus players now.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, free to play. But yeah, that's what's going on at PlayStation. I'm sure we'll hear more. I hate to say it, but like I am kind of expecting bad news out of Bend sometime this year.
They gotta do some type of state of play in the next 90 days. Like, they got to do something.
I think so. There's rumors of a February one as well.
Even if it's just trailer.
They don't have any.
I know, but even if it's just
anything.
Art, like show us the logo or tell us what Barlog's game is called. Show us a black and white sketch of him doing something. Like I don't know.
Honestly,
like,
if you're PlayStation, you're like, we need a Wolverine trailer.
Yeah.
Like,
especially if something like what's
studios,
supposed to be here in November from Sony first party right now. It's January. It's almost February.
Like, the leaks last year were saying Wolverine, but I think both of us said like 2026.
At this point in time, no chance. Like, the only thing we've seen is the back of
the leaks show a pretty like a lot of work being done, but I don't know if it's enough.
Yeah, I know the leaks are. I'm just saying I'm going off of what's been shown to the public. Like that Insomniac has said, hey, this is cool. Like, this is ready. So I'm sorry. I guess it's Ghost. Yeah. I'm sorry, Ghost 2.
Yeah, well, Ghost is coming out, but you said November. Ghost is coming out, I think, first half of the year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so what's their holiday game? What's gonna be the game that's on kids' Christmas lists? Like, and because I'm sorry, it sold really well and it won Game of the Year, but it wasn't Astrobot. Like, I mean, it was, but it wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know what PlayStation does, because like Bluepoint, like if you're like, hey, Bluepoint, we're canceling your live service game, guess what, you're doing Bloodborne? We're like 2 years away from Bloodborne now.
I don't think so. Do you think 2 years?
If you're starting tomorrow, yeah, okay. Probably.
They've had to have been doing some stuff behind the scenes, right?
No, they were working on God of War Ragnarok. They were helping Santa Monica, which is crazy because Santa Monica is usually the company that helps other studios produce games. So they literally
I didn't know that. So
yeah,
but Ragnarok's been out for like 2 years.
No, yeah, but like there was the extra DLC that came out for it and all that stuff.
Okay. All right, yeah.
That came out in 2023. So like literally they've had maybe a year and a half, 2 years on this thing that got canceled. So whatever they start, and again, it's Bluepoint is this company that like they were made for remakes, so they don't have like creative directors or anything like that. Yeah. So like literally, like they need someone to like tell them this is.
I guess that makes sense why they were doing God of War live service, because they were just sitting there right next to Santa Monica people for so long.
But yeah, but they were just like, let's just transition to that. So. Yeah, we'll move on from PlayStation. Fascinating year for PlayStation, I think. The next, I don't know. First party stuff's going to be weird. But let's move on to the last thing we're going to talk about. I don't even think we're going to get to play and watching. That took so long. The Xbox Developer Direct was Thursday, which is why we're recording on Friday, because we figured, hey, we got the trifecta of the manufacturers.
Yeah.
Wait a day and include Xbox. So it was about an hour long. 4 games were talked about. technically 5. The first one was Ninja Gaiden 4 coming fall 2025 to Xbox and PS5, also Game Pass. So yeah, we're going to get a new Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden Black 2 was shadow dropped on Xbox and PS5, also coming to Game Pass the same day as the event. We got South of Midnight launching on April 8th, coming to Game Pass. Clair Obscure Expedition 33 launching April 24th on Xbox and PS5, coming to Game Pass. And then we got Doom the Dark Ages coming May 15th to Xbox, PS5, and Game Pass Day 1. Dave, thoughts on this developer direct? Anything stick out to you from it?
South of Midnight looks amazing.
It looks really good.
Yeah, even drew Angela's interest while Angela was like putzing on her phone doing stuff, and she's like, "That looks really good." You know,
art style, combat looked better than I thought it was going to look.
Ninja Gaiden 4 looks phenomenal. I'm going to make a little old man is old rant here, though. I appreciate the subtitles, but I focus on the subtitles too much, and I'm not watching enough of the video game because I'm trying to read the subtitles. It looked really, really good. I don't know.
Are you a Ninja Gaiden fan?
When I was really young, I played Ninja Gaiden on the Nintendo, like NES and SNES.
Okay.
I haven't played it, but I mean, like even like this is everybody rolls their eyes or is irritated me, but this is why I love Game Pass, because like Ninja Gaiden Black 2, like cool, that's really cool. Oh, it's on Game Pass. Okay, I can mess with it. Oh, I hate it. Cool, move on with my life. I didn't waste $30 or whatever. I don't even know how much it cost. You know,
it'll be a $60 game.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that everybody's like, you know, like this, that, or the other. So, but I thought Ninja Gaiden, like, it's been 10 years, like, cool. Like, there's some fan service. The game looked really, really good. And then the good level of gore, but not ridiculously over the top gore. Again, South of Midnight looked really cool. Expedition 33, again, looked amazing. The more they showed of it, the more I lost interest in it, though. Those menus look so heavy.
Yeah, it's a RPG, SRPG, which interests me, especially the whole concept of it. I know we knew about the story from the last trailers, but just getting a little bit more information on that looked really good. And I wasn't expecting it this soon, April.
But again, it's something I can mess with and be like, hey, I put 6 hours into it, and I just felt like I hit a roadblock, and I won't feel like I wasted my money. Yeah. Or, hey, I'm 6 hours in and I'm loving every second of it. The risk reward is so just meaningless to me. And I maybe I'm in a completely different financial situation than I was years ago. Like, there's a lot of different things going on in my life when you guys talk to me about this. But immediately, Ninja Gaiden 4, worth a shot. Ninja Gaiden Black 2, worth a shot. South of Midnight, must play. Expedition 33, worth a shot. Doom. That is like how I want to play a first-person shooter with what they showed today. Like, yeah. So right there, that's $350 in games, like that are coming this year, and I'm paying, I don't even know at this point in time, $200 for the year,
something like that.
Yeah.
I think I love how the developer direct goes in terms of like, hey, we know what we're getting going into it. They set expectations. I like that there's a shadow drop with like Black coming, and it's coming to, you know, it came to PS5 as well. But I think South of Midnight and Doom the Dark Ages looked fantastic, and the fact that they're coming in April and May, this is the type of cadence we wanted from Game Pass for years, to where they gave us the first 5 months of what to expect in terms of big hitters. I wouldn't say any of these are like
Game of the Year contenders. I mean, Doom potentially. Yeah.
And Doom looked fantastic in this. Though I've never been a big Doom person, but this one seemed interesting as like a prequel that's going to like.
Yeah, the greatest time to enter Doom universe is right now. Like, okay.
Yeah, but in terms of just like Xbox being able to at least have, you know, I always make the baseball analogies of just like, they don't have a home run coming out in the next 5 months, but they have a lot of doubles and maybe some triples that are going to put some points on the board. And I think that's important.
There's reasons to hold on to your subscription.
Mine's going to expire soon because I only got like 3 months for Indiana Jones, and I redeemed it in November. So mine's coming up to where I'm just like, shit, I might just do 3 more months. I think there was a sale on 3-month passes for on Woot. Cohen right now, and I'm like, after watching the developer direct, I'm like, well shit, let me go grab that 3-month code, just because this was enough to where I'm just like, okay, Indiana Jones.
Oh, by the way, you get access to Call of Duty. Oh, by the way, you get access to MLB The Show if you're a sports guy. Like just like those little other things. Oh, by the way, there's probably going to be another cool game like Nobody Saves the World. God, I hope eventually.
Yeah, but so especially like I'm sure Xbox would want me to do year subscriptions, but for me it just doesn't make sense because they don't have that consistent of a lineup yet. But when my membership lapse in February, I'm just going to wait a month and then pick up another 3-month subscription so I can hit during these months. And it seems like Xbox is fine with that being the case, which is why they produce the 3-month passes, because they can at least get your money for 3 months. And they're fine with that, and they hope that, you get stuck in some of these games that you have it a little bit longer. But if we're talking about quarterly runs like this is really exciting for Game Pass. And also like Doom's coming out day one for PS5. So PlayStation people are also going to be able to play these games. And as we learned with some of the other Game Pass stuff, PS5 sales aren't affected necessarily by Game Pass stuff. It's just kind of like another option for you to where like if you're on PlayStation, you don't have to be upset that like this is an Xbox game coming to Game Pass, because it's like, hey, if you really want Doom, you can buy it day one for the full price on PlayStation. Like this was a really good developer direct in terms of like they didn't set any wild expectations. I think the only thing that wasn't officially announced for it was Ninja Gaiden, and I think Ninja Gaiden is like a good kind of surprise.
I mean, the Team Ninja Platinum combination, like holy cow, like
yeah, especially for Xbox, who are desperate to get like Japanese studios to like give them time of day. Ninja Gaiden is like a good tier for them to go after, because they're never going to be able to get like a big Square Enix exclusive like PlayStation can. So going for Team Ninja just makes sense for them. This was a pretty good one. It seems like Xbox has a good first half of the year. Well, they're going to have the same question marks PlayStation has of what are you doing the second half of the year, but at least they have this coming. Yeah,
and also the little thing too, like Avowed is in a month.
Yeah, Avowed's in February. Which is probably what's going to get me to hold my.
So like we're kind of like February, April, May, like we're holding like the quantity. It is the quantity over quality. And, eventually, like if they do something every 6 weeks, which is kind of the cadence that they're on, something's got, like you got Indiana Jones, back end by Avowed, back end by South of Midnight, back ended by Doom, Doom Rising. Yeah. There's a Gears thing floating around out there somewhere. Like you're kind of, like there's a cadence. Like, and I'm trying to, like, I've been looking around on some like Fables hovering around. Like, and there's a couple other things that are still like leaning around.
There'll be another the racing games alluding.
Yeah, Forza. Yeah, I mean, there's just like there's these things that are just kind of just lingering, and it's super interesting. And the other thing on top of it is like we're due for something ridiculous to hit Game Pass again. Something not owned by Microsoft. Yeah,
well, now that especially now that they have the Call of Duty money flowing, they're going to be able to spend a little bit more.
And I'm trying to look at anything that's like, I'm looking through like the release stuff. I'm finding some really bad articles, but I'm looking for something like to fill the gap in March. That could be a potential Game Pass game.
I feel like PlayStation, so Xbox for years has been shit. Like, let's not even like
they're gonna put Assassin's Creed on Game Pass.
I mean, fucking, they got to do something for.
They're gonna put Shadows on Game Pass, man. Like
probably
Adam Fall.
But so like Xbox has been shit the last couple years. Like we can't deny that their output has been shit. It's been terrible. But right now they had to go through that shitty period to finally get into the point where they are now, where like, hey, we have a schedule, we have things that are coming out and will be good for at least the next couple years based on all the studios they
Remember
have.
that stay the course that Spencer said? This is the course.
Yeah, and to bring it back to PlayStation seems like they're hitting the problem Xbox was in the last couple years, where like it's going to be a couple years before PlayStation gets back into the swing of things and releases that cadence. Doesn't mean you're not going to release a banger every once in a while, because they have Insomniac. But PlayStation right now is doing a cleanup that Xbox was doing a couple years ago.
On top of it, Indiana Jones is going to sell on PS5. It's going to, because PS5 is the largest physical platform. It will do well. Is it going to do bonkers? But no, I think it comes in April, right? I think so. It'll be a top 5 MPD in April, if not a top 3, because April's light. Right, currently April is light. So
yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, look how well it did on PlayStation. And Phil Spencer's going to be like, yeah, look how well it did on PlayStation.
Yeah. It's bonus money. And it'll probably disappear after a month.
Yep.
On MP of being a top seller, but it would be enough for them to be like, you can't laugh at Xbox if it sells well on PS5, because it's still money going to Xbox.
Oh, the only reason it sold well is because you put it on PS5. Oh, cool. So you think my decision's smart then? Thanks.
Yeah, like we made money.
Yeah,
sort of thing. I was like, when I first heard the lineup, the only thing I was really interested in was South of Midnight, but like Doom looked really good. To where I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I try giving Doom another shot for this one.
If it's the last week, last week of your subscription, you're gonna download the game and play it. If you love it, you're gonna re-up your subscription. If you hate it, you're gonna move on with life.
Yeah, and like right now, I'm like, I have some downtime. Like I could probably just play Doom 1 or 2016 just to see if I care about it again, and then play Doom Eternal on Game Pass. So,
but it also looks like they play significantly different. Like they were talking about like the movement and the strafing and the
which makes me want to play it in order now, and I have access to those games without having to buy them.
Yep.
So it's just something I'm thinking about. But yeah, that was the Xbox Developer Direct. PlayStation, hopefully they have something in February. They need something, like we said earlier.
They need some good PR. They need some positive PR. They need some hell yeah. They need to go back to like 18 months ago and release a trailer and own the internet for a week, or own
and not a third party thing.
Right.
It has to be a first party thing.
Yeah. So.
And they still have the pedigree to pull something off.
Agreed.
It's just a matter of how far out that thing is. But yeah, that's it for the news.
All right, so I'm gonna speed run this. What we're playing and watching. Yours is short. Mine's like only like a game longer.
I'm just gonna tag onto whatever you say, Marvel Rivals. So start with the other one first.
I am. That was my plan. So you guys know I bought a PSVR 2. Still haven't messed with Horizon yet. Still haven't put the code in. But anyway, so up to my PS Plus subscription. Something I probably said I wasn't gonna do. But
mine fucking reset, and I was kind of upset by it.
Anyway, Plucky Squire was part of that. Plucky Squire was on my list of things I was gonna buy during the holidays, and with the VR thing, yada yada yada. Amazingly fun. I'm like maybe an hour into it, but the animations, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. There was like a little Punch Out style fight in the game already, like, and it's just it's cute and it's fun and it's a nice little break, and I can see myself playing some more of it. And I started and got distracted, and like this week, I downloaded Marvel Rivals on PlayStation. It is not cross progression. I looked.
Just crossplay.
Just crossplay. No big deal. Because I'm still trying to figure it out. So, right off the bat, comparing it to our earlier conversation with Concord, I played a couple tutorial characters. I played the tutorial on a couple characters. Very good tutorial. Like, I like it. Easy to move, easy to understand. I jumped right into a match. I picked Captain America, and I'm like, I don't have a weapon. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm still trying to figure that out. Does my shield throw do enough? The cooldowns are there. Like, do I have to get really close? Some of it's me. Like, a lot of it is a me problem. Like, I'm not super into hero shooters. I was playing by myself. I need to like go tag Johnny as a boy or tag you and be like, all right, help me out a little bit here. Let's talk and like tell me what I'm doing.
To be honest,
wrong.
I've been doing all solo, and I did that for a while, and there were some growing pains before I found like a character that fit what I wanted to do.
It's nothing that like when I played Concord, I'm like, fuck this game. Like I can't, and I'm like with Marvel Rivals, I'm like, okay. All right, I see. Okay, that's kind of cool. Oh, I got four kills. I'm like, I don't even know what I did, but that's still cool.
The star ratings for the characters is very helpful when you learn, because
don't even know what that is.
So each character, there's like stars in the left bottom corner.
Okay.
That lets you know the difficulty to learn that character. Okay. And it's a 1 to 5 scale, I believe, and that is very helpful. Just
so like, 1 being the easiest to learn and 5 being the hardest?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So like it at least puts you in a direction so you can get an idea of like how the characters work.
Yeah.
There is playing with people versus AI for practice. Okay. And that is very helpful to learn like
I got better with the alts. Like I used Captain America's alt. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck just happened.
Cap is and it's funny, there's a lot of different tiers of stuff to do, but the only good thing is, or tiers for the characters in terms of who's useful, who's not. But
Yeah.
it ultimately comes down to just like what character you have fun playing.
Right.
And there's
that's
going
to take me a couple of hours to figure out. Multiple hours, which is, again, the point of the game.
Yeah, and the good thing is for some characters, you can find out within 2 seconds
Yep.
of just like, nah, this ain't going to be for me.
Yep.
You know, like Black Widow seemed like she was fun, but she's a sniper, so I bounced out almost immediately after playing her.
I love the breakable environment.
Right
I think the breakable environment's really cool.
Yeah.
There's I got my ass kicked by Thor a lot.
But if you had a Thor on your team, he could have boosted you because they have the team up abilities and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of meta you could learn, but you also could just play in your lane and just be like, this is just what I'm doing, and do what I do, where I just turn off voice chat and text chat, and I just kind of do my own thing.
Yep.
And it works out pretty well for me.
Yeah, no, and there's like finding that fine line of this game is fun solo, this game is fun with friends, and this game has enough to hold my attention. If you can get all three of those categories, you have a $20 million player or $20 million player base.
Yeah, yeah, and they do also a really good thing to where like, so say you have, so I like it. Some people hate it, but say you lose like 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, fuck, this sucks. The game will actually drop bots into your match to where your next match you like sync up with.
Good.
Your other team could be bots. So then you're playing with people and you're like, oh shit, I'm kind of getting the hang of it. And you don't realize you're playing bots right away.
It's a false confidence. Fortnite does it too.
Yeah, but that is one of those things that is a good trick. Because then if you're thinking of like, fuck it, I'm quitting, the game's like, no, it's okay. You're okay at the game. And it just allows you to get more time because they realized the more time you spend with the game, the better you're going to get. Yeah. So they have to do that little thing where they trick you into playing. It's a skill game.
You can't just like pick it up once an hour, 1 hour a month and be like, I want to win all my matches. Like you have to, to your point, like you said, you have to find who you like and then invest into who you like.
Yeah. And there's 30 characters and each of them basically feel like they're from another video game. To where like you just haven't found your Destiny equivalent character, and there is definitely
and I feel like, and again, it might be a me thing right now. Like I feel like a couple of characters that I picked, they're just slow. They're slower than what I'm used to.
I would say the speed's a little bit of a thing on this game.
As in slow.
Yes.
Okay.
Especially after you die,
getting to
you
the
spawn.
Point. Like getting to like you die and then you don't change your character and getting from spawn to objective. I'm like. Yes, far.
Which I think I mentioned when I first talked about it. But I got used to it and then just learned which characters I can traverse a little bit. Like if you think the game's moving too slow, Spider-Man and one of the healers moves really fast. A couple of the healers move really fast. Squirrel Girl has a double jump.
Okay.
That works pretty well for me as well.
Yeah.
So it does help. But if you pick like a tank, you do feel like you're moving slow, but that's how tanks are.
Right. I mean, I guess I'll get that. That's some of the stuff.
We got to try and coordinate for this weekend just to see what we do. Like I'm enjoying every night.
I have no football to watch.
You do not, Dave. You do not. It's because someone asked, do you think they can go all the way last week? So blame Stefan, I think.
And then, we're losing all of our coaches, which, even your Bears.
Anytime a team's
your Bears took our, 4 of our coaches, man. They're all going to get fired in 3 years. It's okay.
Yeah, and they're going to blame the talented quarterback or whatever, and then...
No, it's fine. I'm upset. I'm a huge Lions fan. So everybody knows I'm a massive Lions fan. I've been relishing the last two and a half years of success. This is football. This is what happens. They just ran into a quarterback that just didn't make a mistake. He's a rookie quarterback. He didn't make a mistake. So they
have 3 more years before.
Their window's not closed. They easily.
They have 3 years, right?
For sure.
Two
for sure. Yeah. So and it just all depends on what they do. But I'm content. I've had 39 years of struggle, so I think that
you'll be fine.
But I did go down to Kentucky briefly. I got to see Parker. I think there's a picture of him in Discord. Me hanging out. So I got to watch the Lions lose with my entire family: my son, my daughter-in-law, my daughter, my daughter's fiance, my grandchild, and my wife. So I have all of a sudden you look up and I have a very large family.
Yeah.
It used to be 5, and now it's okay, we need space for 9. I'm like, damn.
So, now you're gonna have to build an extension to the house.
Yeah, no, they're on other parts of it. So,
yeah, but all I've been playing is Marvel Rivals.
Okay.
I did pick up NBA 2K on sale, and I'm still just playing.
Why?
I was doing a thing
I'm
where
kidding.
work has been kind of shit the last like month or so.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where like I needed a brain off game.
Okay, I get it.
And that was so I picked the Pistons, and I've just been brain off playing the Pistons from time to time, just because I Cade Cunningham and Duran are
that guy
fantastic.
snapped his leg in
starting
half
points.
like 2 weeks ago.
Ivy, yeah. So like it was one of those things where like I do the thing every once in a while where like work shit, but I still want to play a game.
Yeah.
And Marvel Rivals I cannot play when I'm tired as fuck and brain dead from work. So like I picked up 2K, and then I mostly like just to manage the teams. It's weird.
Yeah.
MLB The Show used to be that for me, but I just
you
kind
used
of
to call it like your podcast game or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's basically what this turned into. Just because
Yeah.
when I play Marvel Rivals, I kind of just need to focus on Marvel Rivals.
Yeah.
Which is why I usually like I feel bad because like I have my notifications turned off on the system level. And I've missed so many invites from people that see me playing Rivals, and I just
Like the old like Johnny's a boy and stuff like that, or
yeah, he sent me like 2 or 3 invites, and I didn't notice until I was done playing, and I go back to the main menu and I see the little
red
like,
dot.
light.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. But yeah, no, it keeps happening, and I'm just like, fuck, I feel like an asshole. But like literally, when I play multiplayer games now, or just games in general, all the notifications are off. Even my phone, I turn notifications off.
How many people can you have on a team? Like maybe we'll see if we can get a Marvel Rivals night going or something.
It's
like that,
it's 6v6, so
Okay,
like definitely could get a party going.
Yeah. Maybe we'll look into that. So maybe I'll
Probably won't do comp with anybody.
No,
because,
absolutely not. Not until we figure that out. But I think it'd be cool for us just to decide, like, I don't know, Tuesday nights at 9:30 Eastern for like an hour and a half. We just all jump on or something.
This weekend I'm home alone, so like, I have plenty of time for Rivals. As soon as we're done here, I'm gonna make a steak and I'm gonna play Marvel Rivals all night. So like that, those are my plans. I gotta feed cats, but yeah.
All right. So please send us questions. We kind of cut the questions this week just because we knew that like this Xbox and PlayStation stuff was going to be a little bit of a chatter. It's part of what we waited for. So yeah, send us questions. No more Lions questions, please. Hashtag AskDigitalDays. You can post them in Discord. There's a specific server for that. We'll try to make a Marvel's Rival thing. I'll clean something else out that's in there that didn't grab. And then that
Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Oh, that's still there. Okay.
Yeah.
That Monster Hunter game's coming too. Like Monster Hunter Wilds is coming like in a month, 6 weeks. So that has crossplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
I
they all
might
have
be
crossplay.
picking 2 copies for that just because Sarah's been needing a new game since Final Fantasy's been kind of low. So.
Yep. So we'll have to start putting some feelers out of where we're at with some stuff like that. So maybe I'll put a couple feelers out in Discord. A couple people might get some everyone tags. I'm sorry. Sometimes it's just a good way to kind of spark some interest and see where we're at with stuff. And start, we're more than halfway through the month of January of 2025. So maybe we'll try to figure out something of every other week, something we can do. I always say that, and it just never seems to work. My schedule's different. Your schedule's different too, but we can figure something out. So just let us know, though. Join the Discord. Hang out in the Facebook group a little bit. Socials at Digital Days Pod. Michael is at the first MJC. Myself is at Good Dave Hunt. And I hope everyone has a great week and keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.